Good afternoon, and welcome to the Way to Wow show. People making money. Sorry, I'm your host, Kevin Bemmel, and I invite you to look back at the shows I've done so far this year. One of them is on goal setting and a concept called conditions of satisfaction that I learned from my friend Jeffrey Hayzlett. If you were I happened to be on Twitter yesterday. Another friend of mine, Colleen Hammond, was asking, are you setting goals for 2023? And I introduced, well, I don't know if I introduced to her, but I brought up this concept of conditions of satisfaction. And I, what's the word? I tagged Jeffrey Hayzlett on it so he would know that I'm not stealing his ideas. But anyway, I invite you to take a look at that. And then last week's show was three things that you should make habits for this year that will help you be more successful. So, and I'm gonna stay with that theme somewhat here. January being a good time to refocus on the habits that we're developing in order to be more successful or get more closely to the kind of life that we want, however you would term that. And so today I'm going to talk about how to get more done. So I don't know about you, but I'm always seem to have more to do than I have time to do it. So between work and family commitments and friends and family and phone calls and meetings and training and all of that kind of stuff, there never seems to be enough hours in the day, especially since I'm adamant about getting a minimum of 7 hours of sleep a night. So if I didn't care about my sleep, I suppose I could get a lot more done. But for the long run, that is not a good way to handle things. So when I got very serious about being more productive, the first thing I did was figure out, how do I get enough sleep? By sleeping well, it makes sure that the time that I'm awake and working or interacting with friends, family, etc., that time is actually productive, as opposed to sort of dragging through and, oh, I'm so tired, I don't know, that kind of thing. So what I'm going to do is talk about how I work my productivity. And I want to show, this is a book. I think, oh gosh, I can't remember who I heard about this book from. But anyway, this is a book called Deep Work by Cal Newport. It was written a few years ago. Yeah, 2016. So about 6 years ago, 7 years ago. And Cal Newport has he developed a system that allowed him to do, in particular, very focused work. So when I was writing my book and I was just not making the progress I wanted to make, I heard about deep work and I read it and I said, okay, right, this is the key. So I can't say that I use Cal Newport's system verbatim any longer. I have made some tweaks to it in order to make it fit better to how I work and enhance my own productivity. But I do recommend this book to you very highly. I'll put a link to it in the show notes. For what it's worth, it'll be an affiliate link. So if you click through to it, I think I get 10 cents if you buy a copy of this book. But in any event, if you're looking for a system, especially if you have to do very focus intensive work, that's somewhat redundant, I realize. If you're trying to write something, write a book, if you're a coder, you're trying to write code, if you have an intensive report that you need to put together, a big spreadsheet or whatever, and especially if it's a multi-day project or a multi-week or multi-month project, Cal Newport's system is really, really brilliant. So what I'm going to do, and I hope this is going to work, is I'm going to share a whiteboard. Let's see. Yeah, new whiteboard, open and collaborate. And we get the spinning colored wheel of annoyance. Okay, there we go. So what I'm going to do is show you basically how Cal Newport recommends using his system. So let me go through the keys to it first, and then I'll do an example so you can see it. So first of all, he recommends, as do I, that you plan your day the evening before. So when I finish working, when I finish working today, I already know what I'm doing for tomorrow. So I'm not going to get up tomorrow morning and go, okay, what do I need to get done? That's inefficient, because then you spend the first 30 minutes to an hour trying to figure it all out. Meanwhile, you could be off and working and getting momentum going. So I would say, sort of rule number one, you're not done working today until you have scheduled your day for tomorrow. Now, of course, sometimes there are last minute changes. That's the nature of life. But in general, you want to make sure that you know for tomorrow what you're doing tomorrow before you stop working today. So that's number one. Number two, I recommend that you have set hours to work. Now, maybe this idea is not so popular anymore. That's my sense. I candidly don't have any data to back that up. But I'm sure you've heard about the old 9 to 5, right? The 9 to 5 grind or whatever it was. Or there was a lot of sense to that. One of the things is when we block out what our work time is going to be, then we've got after work and before work to do whatever else is important in our lives. Okay, so I know for myself, I wake up every day, 6 a.m. Okay, sometimes on Saturday and Sunday it may vary by 30 minutes or so. Okay, but I'm up at 6 a.m. and I work until 6 p.m. After 6 p.m., in general, I do not work anymore. That's time to spend with my daughter. It's time to spend with my friends. Time for me to just relax and do something enjoyable or whatever. But that's so my work time is that 12-hour slot. Now, I will quickly add that I'm not literally working that entire 12 hours. So I have my preparatory stuff that I do in the morning, saying my prayers, doing some studying, having breakfast while I read the newspaper. So I have my morning routine, which lasts from 6 until 8:30 or sometimes 9 o'clock. It depends. When my daughter is with me, I have to take her to school. So then it lasts until 9 o'clock because I have a 30-minute period where I have to take her to school. Otherwise, it lasts from 6 to 8:30. Okay. And then I'm working until 6 p.m. Okay. So set your work time. And my work time, by the way, is Monday through Friday. Now, because of when the Sabbath starts, a lot of times on Friday, I'm not working until 6 p.m. It just doesn't work out that way. Typically on Fridays, I'm working until about noon or 1 p.m. Okay. And then I will do some work on Sundays, depending on what's going on. That's kind of my catch-up day. So sometimes I do work and sometimes I don't have to. It just depends on what's going on. Saturday, I do not work. Okay, Saturday is the Sabbath. No work, period. End of story. Okay, so that's number two. And then rule number three is schedule everything. Okay, so for example, I schedule my exercise time. Now, A couple days a week, I work out with a trainer. So, of course, I schedule that because I'm meeting with somebody else. But even when I'm exercising on my own, I have that in my schedule. Okay. And that keeps me accountable to making sure that I exercise every day. And it also makes sure that the time is allotted so it doesn't get filled up with other meetings or other commitments. Okay. So schedule everything for me between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. my day is scheduled. And if there's time not scheduled, it's scheduled in the sense that that's when I'm doing whatever reading or other things like studying that I have to do for a meeting coming up. Okay. All right. So what Cal Newport recommends doing is each day you take a piece of paper. Let's see if I can make this work. Yeah, here we go. Okay. So we'll just call this, a daily schedule. Okay. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 22, 23, 24. Okay. So there we go. We've got, I don't know why that won't expand. Okay. I guess it doesn't matter. All right. So we essentially, I made 24 spaces. That's 12 slot. Okay. I'm not sure why it's moving. It's the magical moving thing here. Okay, so, and let me see if I can get this schedule day. Oh, oops. Daily schedule. Okay. All right. So then for each, now I'll show you how I actually do mine, but this is closer to Cal Newport's system. So he says do it on a pad of paper. I've forgotten. I think he says organize your time in half-hour chunks. I think that's what he said, but it could be hour chunks, but I'm pretty sure it's half-hour chunks. So that's why I did 24. So each one represents a half an hour of your day. So let's just say you start out at 6 a.m. Okay, and then this will be 6:30 a.m. and 7 a.m. and then yada yada, down, and then you have 5:30 p.m. Okay, and that's the end of your day. Okay, so you'll have all of those worked out. Now, this is one of the things I found inefficient about his system is the idea that you got to sort of map this out each day, and so that's why I'll show you how I do mine, which works more effectively for me. But anyway, okay, so it's 6 a.m. This may be morning prep. Okay, oops, I don't know why I want this. There we go. Okay, so whatever your sort of morning routine is. And by the way, that may be the same thing every day. Okay. And then, 6:30 p.m. maybe, get dressed or whatever. Oops. Embarrassed. There we go. Okay. 7 a.m. For me would be, study. Okay. And then, 7:30 p.m. I'm sorry, not 8 p.m. a.m. would be prayers. Okay. Now for me, this part of my schedule is pretty much non-changing. Okay. So then 8 a.m. is breakfast and Wall Street Journal. There we go. Right. And then okay, so on a day when my daughter's not with me, okay, so this will be Star Wars. So this is check email and social media. Okay, so I spend, because there's typically an accumulation overnight. Okay, and then at 9 a.m., and this actually goes until 11 a.m. is calling. So this is reaching out to people I know, finding out from them how business is going, seeing how I can help them. It's, for want of a better term, it's sort of marketing time. Okay. And so, and then, you know, whatever. So, and typically then, so we might come down here to, you know, 4 p.m. and this would be exercise. Okay. And by the way, that would also be at least 4:30, maybe at least an hour. Actually, it wouldn't start that early. It would start at 4:30. And typically it would go through till 6 o'clock. So 4:35, 5:30. Oh, I left out 5. That's why it looks strange. Okay, here we go. So then 5 p.m. And that gives me an hour and a half for exercise. So, you know, typically I walk about 10 kilometers a day. So at the pace I go, it's usually about 86 minutes or something like that, plus, you know, cooling down, etc. Okay. And that way my day ends at 6 o'clock. Okay. And then whatever else you've got done. Now, by the way, and this is where Cal Newport's plan, I think, is so good, is let's say that you're writing a book. Okay. And I don't know about you, but for me, my best time is in the morning. So when I was writing my book, I just had, you know, writing, and I wrote, having trouble with spelling today. Okay. So I wrote for 2.5 hours. Okay. So 9, 9:30, 10, 10:30. So for those 2 hours, I don't know what this is doing here. It's, anyway. Oops. Okay, there we go. I don't know what that's all about. Delete. There we go. Okay. So I would write for those 2 hours, and others. And one of the things I don't remember if I learned this from Cal Newport or for somebody else, but you want to schedule the thing that you have the most trouble doing. Do that first. Get it done with, taken care of, and that way you're not fretting about it through the rest of your day. Okay. So that's why if you've got focused writing to do, get it done. Just take the 2 hours, or maybe it's 3 hours, or maybe it's an hour and a half, whatever it is, get it done. That's why the hard part for me is doing those phone calls. So that's why they're the first thing I do in terms of a significant task. Okay. And you do this. So, you know, basically when I got back from exercising, in this case, I would sit down, metaphorically, because I have a stand-up desk, and I would plan out what I needed to do for the following day. So if this was daily schedule, so if this is daily, oops, what is going on here? If this is daily schedule Wednesday, okay, wow, really having trouble here spelling, then I would, you know, at the end of Wednesday, I would put together a daily schedule Thursday. Now, when I was doing it by hand like this, I used one of those little notebooks. I forget what there's a real popular one out there that are very expensive. I didn't use those ones. I found ones that were less expensive. But in any event, here, this is what I used actually. This is called Lockbee. This is a business that's started by a veteran, and so you buy the cover, which is kind of this nice sort of, I'm not even sure what this is, what the material is, but anyway, and it zippers closed. You can put pens in it or whatever. Here you have a pocket on the back with a Velcro closer if you want to put, I guess, a credit card or whatever. And then the neat thing is he has 3 different kinds of notebooks you can put in it. You can put in notebooks with lines, and I think this has lines as well. Yeah, there's a notebook with lines. There's ones that are just blank, and then there's ones with grid paper. So I used to carry around one with all 3 different kinds. So then if depending on what it was I wanted to take notes about, I could. So this is actually what I used. And it's very efficient. And it's, it's nice and small, kind of has I don't know, I kind of like the sort of, I don't even know what, rustic is the wrong word, but this sort of military look to it, I guess is what you call it. And they have them in different sizes here. I'll give them a free plug. I don't have any interest in this. Oh, see, I disappeared. You know, I have a bigger one. They come in a size about this big as well. But in any event, you can look them up. Lochby, Lochby. Great notebook system, and really fun to use. So each day, and that way, by the way, I didn't have to draw lines. I just had the lines are pre-drawn in the book, and I was ready to go. But you could also use a legal pad or whatever works for you. Doesn't have to be fancy. I liked to be able to carry mine around. That's why I got that. So again, at the end of the day, make sure the following day is scheduled. Now, what I found was that I was spending too much time each day, sort of putting in the times of the day and all of that, and and I suppose I could have gotten something like a daytime or whatever. But one of the parts of Cal Newport's system is if you miss doing something, let's say on Wednesday, so then it automatically gets pushed over to Thursday. Okay. Excuse me. And again, I think this is from Cal Newport's system. I could be wrong. If you don't do something on a particular day, actually, before you push it over, you should ask yourself the question: wait, do I really need to do this since I didn't get it done today? Did I not get it done because I didn't have time, or because really it's not important enough for me to worry about? So if it's not important to worry about, then just drop it off your calendar, and there you've just become more productive by not doing something that really doesn't need to be done. But if it does need to be done, then you push it over to the next day. And so because of all of these, little things like this, what I found was it was more efficient for me to do all this electronically. And so I stopped using those calendars now, I think a couple of years ago. I use them for other purposes. So here, let's see, how do I close out of this? No, let's see. No, that's open and collaborate. Wow, this is interesting. Let's see. Well, what I'm going to do is go over to how I do my day. Let me just find a week here that oh, whoops, that's why I'm doing the wrong thing here. I know this is scintillating television here. Okay, yeah, and I'll show a week where I have my daughter. So let's switch to screen sharing. Screen sharing. Do you want to we'll close it. You do want to continue? Yes, I want to continue. Okay, there we go. That way, I guess that's a good way to close it, is to open something else. Okay, so here's screen sharing. Let me move myself over to here. Okay, so this is just a typical week in my day, and you can see. So like I said, my day starts at 6. Okay. And here's my morning. I practice my French by doing my schedule in French. So that's why, what the heck is, étire mes pieds, it's stretch my feet, étudier Gemara, study the Gemara. That's my studying. Daven is St. Prayers. Okay. So then here we go. Here's, take my daughter to school. Okay. And then you see right here, this is the time I block out for connecting with different business associates, et cetera, et cetera. Now, by the way, sometimes I have a standing commitment to connect with business associates like here. So this takes precedent. Okay. And then I've got meetings. Here's my exercise you see in blue. Okay. Other meetings. Okay. Here, exercise. This time it's down there. And now I like the color coding because then I can look at my schedule and I have a sense immediately of what's going on. So Green is generally speaking, green and brown anyway, is generally speaking professional. Pink is my daughter. This maroon color is sort of religious things. And blue is health, whether it's physical, mental, whatever. Okay, red is friends and colleagues on a social basis. Okay, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what you'll notice is there are blank slots. Now, this is already, a month and a half away, and that's why there are still some blank slots. If I showed you my current schedule, you'd see everything is pretty much booked up. There might be, a 15-minute break in there. And I, because this is, by the way, this is Google Calendar. I should have mentioned that at the beginning. Google Calendar is really great for this because it gives you the ability to move things around from day to day and to reschedule things quickly if you need to. So in any event, I schedule in 15-minute increments. So now you'll notice here on Monday, there's I think it's a half hour here and there's 2 hours here, right? So, but this is actually 45 minutes. So this 45 minutes, part of it is allows me to get home. And since I've been working all morning, I'll get home and I'll check my email. And then I have a 2-hour slot here, and sometimes that'll be meetings. Sometimes I'll close it myself in order that I can do some other types of focused work that I need to do, reading a report or reading a deck or something like that, et cetera. Okay. And now what makes this efficient is another tool, and there's lots of different ones. I use something called Schedule Once. I think it's now called Once Hub or something like that. And what it does is I have a link that I can give people so that if we want to meet, I can give them that link and they will have access to my schedule. Okay. And they can just go ahead and schedule a time that's convenient for them. And it'll already fit into my schedule because of how the tool is programmed. So that makes that saves the back and forth of when do you have available, when do I have available. As much as possible, I just cut all that out and let people schedule directly into the times that I have available. And I do let them know if it's something urgent and you don't find a time, so then do get back to me. That happened for today, by the way. Somebody wanted, it was a meeting with several people. I was the only one who couldn't make the time today. And so the person, got back to me and said, hey, is there any way you can join this meeting? And so I, shifted my schedule around in order to do that. Okay. So by giving people, by using this tool, like I said, there's several different ones. Schedule Once is the one I use. By using that tool, that saves me a lot of time, number one, in scheduling meetings, and number two, in having to, put them into my schedule and all that kind of stuff. All of that happens automatically. Plus, you and the person you're meeting with get automatic reminders. They can be both email and text. I'm sure the other tools like this have the same kind of functions. And I integrate it with Google Calendar, and I can tell the system, so so you notice here, these are all the different calendars I have. You can see the colors here. So for example, this sort of brownish grayish color. Okay. While I have it blocked out here on my calendar, okay, if you were to go into Schedule Once, you would be able to schedule a meeting during this time because this isn't blocked out in the scheduling system. Okay, the dark green is, the blue is, the pink is, okay. And also I think this sort of lime green, I believe that's not blocked out either. I could be wrong about that. I don't remember exactly. But in any event, you can tell it which ones to block off and which ones to leave open. And the reality is, if someone wants to meet with me, this is my time for talking and connecting with people anyway. So if they want to schedule a time to talk to me, hey, great. That means I don't have to, call someone and see if they're available to talk. So again, that tool will help you save a lot of time, work more efficiently. Now, I just want to take a couple of minutes to review, because I think I went through this, pretty fast. So number one, in terms of making your day more productive, your day doesn't end until you've fully planned out the following day. Okay, so Sunday isn't over until this day is blocked out. Okay, Monday isn't over until Tuesday is blocked out, etc. Okay, so that's rule number one. Rule number two, Alice and I went up on rule number two. Oh gosh. Okay. You'll have to go back to the beginning of the show. I'm sorry. I'm just having a senior moment here. Boy, gosh, that's so weird that it just completely lost my mind. I'm completely losing my mind. Wow. In any event, so your day isn't finished until you plan out the next day, number one. Number two, block out everything you want to do, okay? Whether it's exercise, whether it's a family obligation. See right here, you see épicerie. When my daughter comes to me at 1 o'clock, and so we need to go grocery shopping to make sure she has food for school. So I put that into my calendar, every other Sunday, basically, because she's with me every other week. Okay, so number two, schedule everything. Okay, and I don't remember what number three was. It must not be important. I assure you, I am not radioactive. For those of you who know that joke, and that's right. And set your day. Set your day. Okay, so again, my day starts at 6. It ends at 6. Okay. 6 to 7 a.m. I didn't literally block it out, but that's taking care of sort of morning prep and getting shaving and getting dressed. That's what's happening for that first hour every day. So I suppose I could schedule it in there. I just neglected to do so. I think I used to when I was doing it by hand for some reason, and I realized here I don't really need to. And then my scheduling program is set to allow people to schedule meetings between 9 and 6 o'clock. Okay, so I don't have to worry about people scheduling a meeting with me at 6 a.m. When I'm waking up and sort of doing whatever it is I'm doing. Okay, so there I found the 3 rules. Number one, set the time, set your work time. In my case, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Okay, number two, schedule out everything that you're doing. Okay, and number three, you're not done working today until you've scheduled tomorrow. If you ingrain that practice, you will find that you're much more productive. You'll wake up each morning knowing what you need to do. And in fact, you'll go to bed each night knowing what you need to do the next day. And your brain will work on it even as you sleep. And that's a good thing. It's not going to disrupt your sleep. I think it actually, for me, I think this is the case. I actually sleep better because I'm not worried about, gosh, do I know what I'm doing tomorrow? Did I forget anything? That's not an issue for me anymore. I'm so used to using this system that when I go to sleep, I already know, hey, when I get up tomorrow, I know exactly what I'm going to be doing. So I don't have to wake up in the middle of the night going, oh gosh, did I, schedule time to do X, Y, or Z? Once in a great while, something like that may happen. I may, something came up at the last minute, and did I reset my schedule or whatever? No, look, no system is perfect. Okay, but this works very, very well. And so I encourage you to use this system or something like it that adheres to the 3 principles that I was fumbling a few minutes ago. Set what your work day is, what the hours of your work day is, number one. Number two, you're not done today working until you schedule tomorrow, and schedule out everything. Those are the three principles, the three rules, if you will, of productivity. And so that will help you immeasurably in getting to getting to your goals and meeting your conditions of satisfaction much more quickly and efficiently than sort of letting your schedule overtake you. Now, I really like color-coded things and because it gives me more information at a glance. And if you remember on my schedule, you saw colors of blue, red, and green. So maybe unsurprisingly, and you see here in my conditions of satisfaction, blue, red, and green, all of those tie together. So when I see a color on my schedule that's green, I know it's something that relates to pursuits, either play, finances, or learning. When I see something in my schedule in blue, it's either identity, health, or mindset. Okay, primarily health, by the way, just because that's most likely to be scheduled. And if I see something in red, I know it's something having to do with family, friends, or God. Okay, so all that connects through in my life, and it makes it, again, at a glance, I can really see what's coming up, where am I really spending my time. And as you can imagine, between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., the majority of my time is going to be green with a spot of blue for exercise and some red as I'm connecting with friends, or in this case, family obligations, taking my daughter to school. So I use pink for my daughter because she likes the color pink, and it fits within the red family, right? So there you go. And those things together, again, it saves me time. I don't really have to think, oh, wait, what is, I don't even, typically I don't even have to read what it is I'm doing. A lot of times I don't need to know exactly what it is I'm doing. I just want to be able to see, am I really putting in the time where I need to be putting in the time in order to attain my conditions of satisfaction or meet whatever short-term goal I'm working on. So it all becomes an integrated system, and that too, it lowers the amount of brain time I need to take on these more sort of administrative tasks, and it allows me to really focus on the work at hand. So when I've got a meeting coming up, I can focus on what do I need to be talking about during this meeting. If I've got if I've got a training session coming up, if I'm the trainee, I can just focus on what do I need to be learning here. If I'm doing the training, I can focus on how can I best be giving over this information to the people who are learning it, et cetera, et cetera. So I can really focus on what needs to be done in that moment, as opposed to worrying about, gosh, am I really using my time efficiently? What's coming up next? Any of that, all that I can push to the side and just be very focused on the task at hand. And that's, I think, aside from using our time well, or our time efficiently, I should say, we use our time well. So we accomplish more when we can focus on what needs to get done. I think too, by the way, we can, if we're focused on the task, so then we can get it done in a shorter period of time, which allows us more opportunity during the day to get other things done. And that's the other thing. That's the other part where this really helps. So one more time, let's see if I can get through it. Remembering the three principles of getting more done. Number one, schedule the hours during the day that you're going to work. That's number one. Number two, you're not done working today until you've scheduled tomorrow. And number three, schedule everything in your day that needs to get done, so it's all blocked out. Okay? And if you follow those three principles, and like any habit, it'll probably take you about 30 days to really ingrain it. Okay. And what I will say too is once you've got it ingrained, you'll find things that you want to change about the system that will help you work more efficiently. By all means, do so. Okay, I'm not using Cal Newport's system exactly as he outlines in his book any longer. I did for a while, I think a couple of years, in order to really sort of get it into. There's a Yiddish word, kishkas. It's like get it inside me, right? To really ingrain using it and really see how it could be effective. But now, as I showed you, I use a variation on it that works for myself, and I do that with lots of things. If you've seen the show that I did on creating relationships, I used initially Judy Robinette's book, Become a Power Connector, and I used her system for a while. But over the years, I've modified it to work better for how I develop relationships, for the kind of relationships I want to develop, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So customize these things. That's a lesson that I was taught early on that I don't think I embraced quickly enough in my life. So when I took Tom Hopkins boot camp, it was a sales training. He taught us all kinds of techniques and such, but he emphasized throughout the training, once you've got it down by rote, then make it your own. And I listened to him say that over and over again. It was such sage advice, and I completely ignored it. Okay? So please don't ignore this piece of advice on my part. My system is not going to work as is for you, especially in the long term. Please take what I've just shown you and make it your own. Okay, work with it until it's a habit, and then see where you can improve on it for your own productivity and your own efficiency. All right, so that's the show for today. A little bit shorter than normal, didn't go a full hour. Walt Disney used to say that if you've ever seen his movie Dumbo, Dumbo was a short movie. I think it's like 50 minutes long, I want to say, which was much shorter than a motion picture typically was during that time. And theater owners were like, well, this movie's too short. You got to make it longer. He's like, no, you have to make a story the length it needs to be. So I'm gonna borrow Walt Disney's philosophy and say you have to make a show the length it needs to be. So this show does not need to go for an hour. It will be inefficient. See, you made up 15 minutes of your day. And you're welcome. Just kidding. But you'll have some extra time since the show was a little bit short today. So thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. This has been the Way to Wow show, People Making Money, and we are on the air every Wednesday, 12:30 Pacific time, 3:30 p.m. Eastern time, an hour into each of the inner time zones, Mountain and Central. And if you have a topic that you would like to hear addressed in terms of how to become more successful, make more money, nothing wrong with that. Okay, and so please let me know. Drop a comment into any of the social media comments, or go to our YouTube channel and make a comment on one of the shows that you watch. I get notified of all those comments, and I assure you I will respond. You can also go into the show notes. There's an email where you can send me your suggestions. And if you have a suggestion for a guest, someone who has an interesting way of making a living, especially something they really love doing, please let me know, whether it's you or a friend or a colleague. Would love to have them as a guest on the show. And so we're coming up here right on 45-minute mark. That's good. It just remains for me to say, for my dear friend up in Shemaim, as we say in Hebrew, up in heaven, Marie, darling, you are still my belle. Thank you very much for watching. Have a wonderful afternoon.